Lumpy Pear's Amazing Bedtime Adventure, Episode 21. We're already this far. It was morning, and the sun was coming up. Anderson was taking care of the inn, and he walked past Lumpy's room, and the door was open. And Lumpy was not there. Anderson thought. Maybe he's eating breakfast already. So he went into the kitchen and the dining room. Lumpy wasn't there either. Hey, Kitty Ranger, Sir Joseph. They were just shuffling into the kitchen to get something to eat. Have you seen Lumpy? No, I haven't seen him. Okay, maybe he's over at the stables. So Lumpy went over to the stables. Anderson. Anderson went over to the stables. Lumpy wasn't there. And Nightmare wasn't there.
Lumpy took Nightmare. Was Daydream there?
Daydream wasn't there either. The stable door was closed. Anderson started getting worried, so he went back to the inn and went into Lumpy's room. There was none of Lumpy's stuff.
He's camping.
He's camping? I don't know. None of his stuff was there.
None of it?
Not even a note. All of his things were gone. Nightmare and Daydream were gone.
Why would he leave his
Where
friends?
Where could Lumpy be?
Why would he leave his friends? That's called ditching
And
a friend.
that's called ditching a friend? Yeah. Well, Anderson went and ran to everybody. He ran to Juliet Caesar and Princess Sydney and Princess Avery and Torchy and James and Logan.
Torchy wasn't with Lumpy?
Nobody knew where Lumpy was.
Torchy wasn't with
They
Lumpy?
looked around. Kitty Ranger and Sir Joseph were good trackers. And all they could see was horse prints in the ground. But they stopped after a while, like they just vanished. There was no clue where Lumpy was. Maybe the Endermen know where he went. They waited that night so that the Endermen would show up. The rulers, of course, and the Enderman King. And sure enough, they did show up. Okay, we guess that you know where Lumpy is because we can't find him. And he took everything with him. The Enderman King had no idea where Lumpy was. Where could Lumpy be? This was the moment that Lumpy was supposed to go through the Ender Portal and end the Ender Dragon. Did he go by himself? The Enderman thought that was very unlikely. He needed a little bit more coaching. Where on earth could Lumpy be? Everybody kind of got sad. Some were worried. Some thought maybe he got scared and he didn't want to go through the Ender Portal. But where would he have gone? Nobody really knew where Lumpy lived. Not even Nightmare knew where Lumpy lived. And Nightmare was with Lumpy. Or so they thought. Maybe he was kidnapped. kidnapped by the Enderman. But that wasn't the case. All through the night, everybody stayed up. Anderson, Kitty Ranger, James and Logan, Avery and Sydney, Juliet Caesar, Kitty Ranger, Sir Joseph, and even the Enderman King. And the Enderman rulers. Of course, Torchy is up all night anyway. Where could Lumpy be? Well, Lumpy was almost home. He was going back home. He got too scared. He didn't know if he could face an Ender Dragon. He thought for sure he'd be dead. And he could tell that he was getting close to home. He missed his peaceful home. He had used the Ender Pearl from the Enderman King to get home so fast. Because if you know about Ender Pearls, they let you teleport. And Lumpy figured out a way to teleport him and his horse
you just
and
them and then you throw the Ender Portal.
and Daydream. So all three of them and all the stuff was teleporting.
So that's why they walked a little bit and then it just stopped and then they teleported.
That's why the hoof prints were gone. Lumpy was almost home. And the sun was starting to set. And he could see the village on the horizon. And he could hear some terrible noises. Some roaring sounds.
That must be
And Endermen were everywhere. He got to where he could see where his house was. And it was all torn apart. It was being attacked by Endermen. They were looking for Lumpy. The Ender Dragon knew. But where was this roaring coming from? The village was on fire. And there was a giant beast roaring and growling. This was a huge beast. It was twice as big as Nightmare, and Nightmare was a big horse. Oh my goodness.
how big.
Lumpy hid behind a tree. This thing was attacking the Enderman, viciously attacking the Enderman. They couldn't even stand a chance against this beast. All of a sudden, Daydream let out a cry like he was scared. Whee! And the beast looked over and it growled and it ran over. There was no outrunning this beast. It charged like it wasn't going to even stop, like it was just going to plow right through them. Just at the last second, it slid to a stop and put its big, scary paws right in front of Lumpy and put its head down on the ground and stuck out his tongue and licked Lumpy's face. It was trouble. Trouble grew up into this giant, scary beast. Oh my goodness.
I was worried about trouble, and the trouble was the beast.
Lumpy couldn't believe what he was seeing. Trouble! Oh my goodness, you almost gave me a heart attack. Nightmare and Daydream were gone. They took off. They got spooked. It's Nightmare, Daydream, it's okay. It's okay. Oh, am I glad to see you, Trouble. Oh, you are certainly causing trouble. Did you start the fire in the village? The village was on fire like a lot, and all the villagers were getting buckets and running to put it out. But Lumpy could tell that Trouble didn't really start the fire. Trouble was trying to stop all the Endermen. Lumpy went over to his home. It was just a pile of blocks and bricks and a big mess. It was a big, big mess. Lumpy started to cry. And he sat down on a block. And he looked at Trouble. And Trouble was so big. His tail didn't shake him anymore. But he still jumped around like a happy little puppy.
But he's not.
But he certainly was not a happy little puppy. He was a happy, big beast. Capable of tearing through Endermen like you never saw. Well, I'm sure I'm glad to see you, Lumpy said. I'm really tired. Do you mind if we take a nap? The Endermen were afraid of Trouble, as they should be.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even go near him. Trouble, I'm in a lot of trouble. I just left. I'm feeling like a coward.
What's a coward?
Coward, somebody who's afraid of everything, or is just a fraidy cat, a scaredy cat, somebody who's weak.
He's just scared.
He tried to explain things to Trouble, but Trouble's a dog, so he could tell that Lumpy was concerned, but he didn't really know. Other than Endermen were the bad guys. Well, Lumpy fell asleep. What am I gonna do? Well, that night the Enderman left Lumpy alone.
Obviously, because
And back in Anderson Town, everybody was still trying to figure out where Lumpy had gone. The Enderman King had a feeling by this time that he knew what was happening. And so he thought he would go back and find Lumpy's home. Of course, the Enderman King didn't really know what was going on. He didn't know anything about Trouble. He didn't know anything about Lumpy's village. But he knew where the book was hidden, and he knew that that was close to Lumpy's house. You know, the book that he found a long time ago. And so he planned on heading out to find him the next night. So that day, when the sun came up, Lumpy decided to rebuild his house. And with Trouble there standing guard, he knew that he'd be okay. And the Enderman King had to wait till the night. And of course, Endermen can teleport. And they don't even need Eyes of Ender to teleport. They just do. And so he teleported all the way to Lumpy's village. And he appeared right at Lumpy's home. And who do you think he met? Trouble.
Oh
Trouble started growling. Lumpy was in the house. Trouble didn't fit in the house anymore. Lumpy was still thinking of how big of a dog house, if you could even call it that, would be bigger than Lumpy's house. How big of a dog house he'd have to build to fit Trouble. But Lumpy was in the house, and he could hear Trouble growling and barking and roaring. And the Enderman King, he was a really big Enderman. Lumpy opened the door to see Trouble pouncing on the Enderman King with his jaws open to attack.
Oh no.
Trouble knocked the Enderman King on the ground.
Oh no.
And Trouble's jaws were biting on the Enderman King's arm. Trouble, stop! Trouble heard Lumpy. He didn't want to stop. Trouble, stop! He's a friend! Lumpy ran over, tried to push Trouble off of the Enderman King. Stop! Stop, Trouble! Bad Trouble! All of a sudden, Trouble listened and let go and sat down. He's a friend, Trouble. The Enderman King, if you remember, had very, very, very tough skin.
Yes.
It hurt his arm, but he wasn't bleeding. But if Trouble kept going, the Enderman King would have been in trouble, meaning Trouble would have eaten him.
That's not good.
But that didn't happen.
In both ways, he would be like.
So, he would have been in trouble and in trouble like a meal.
Yeah.
Sit and stay, Trouble. For as big as Trouble was, he listened to Lumpy still. And the villagers had trained Trouble while Lumpy was gone. One of the villagers came over and was hiding behind the wall of the house, peeking at such a strange sight. There was Lumpy and the Enderman King and a giant beast of a dog all talking to each other. What a strange event. And what do you think the Enderman King told Lumpy? Well, you're going to have to wait for episode 22.